In the last video series, the question I received the most was the one asking which episode this or that scene is, or asking me to mark them all on the screen. I apologize for not doing so, because I always download the anime episodes that I need to make the video in advance, and then cut and clip it for editing. So I know which episodes are included in a certain video, but I'm not sure which scene is clipped from which episode. So I reviewed the episodes I've seen before, organized all the episodes related to the main plot of Detective Conan, and sorted all the related episodes in it. But before watching this video, let me remind you that Detective Conan has many of the main plots hidden after the anime's ending song. So if you don't often check the plot behind the ending song, then it's very likely that it will not be connected to the main plot later. At the same time, many main storyline plots are actually very fragmented. The content of an episode of this anime is about 20 minutes, but the main storyline plot occupies 1 or 2 minutes of the plot, and the rest is basically irrelevant to the main storyline's plot. So I will make a mark of the plot worth watching in that episode, so that you can review the entire Detective Conan series in the fastest time. The next part may be a bit of a spoiler. If you're a new viewer and want to know the whole viewing order of Detective Conan from the beginning without any spoilers, please skip to 10 minutes and 45 seconds to watch. Now, let's get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, now those viewers who don't want to be spoiled are no longer here, so let's start my review now. First of all, the current Detective Conan has 5 main arcs: the Shetty Arc, Vermont Arc, Kaito Arc, Bourbon Arc, and Untitled Arc. There will be several episodes between each arc as transition episodes. Before the Shetty Arc, Detective Conan also had several episodes to introduce the main characters and important plot settings. For example, between episodes 1 and 4, it briefly summarizes how Kuro Shinichi became Edogawa Conan, as well as the main characters' relationships. So, it's the number of episodes that very much need to be watched. In episode 5, Kuro Shinichi had contact with the Black Organization for the first time after becoming Conan, although the Black Organization was changed to a completely different stranger in the anime. Episode 43, the Kuro couple's first appearance. Episode 48, Hattori Heiji's first appearance. And episode 76, Kaitokid's first appearance. The plot stories of these episodes have almost nothing to do with the Black Organization, but the new characters in them will play a very important role in the main storyline in the future. If you haven't watched these episodes, you'll be confused about the later interpersonal relationships in the main storyline, especially Kaitokid, whose father is Vermont's teacher, plus Kid vs Conan, Kid vs Seda Masumi, Kid vs Kyogoku Makoto, Kid vs Okiya Subaru, and Kid vs furuyarei, twice. As a teammate of Conan's side, he has almost fought hand-to-hand against Conan's entire strong team members. If he weren't the protagonist in Magic Kaito, then Kaitokid would be the most powerful candidate for the Black Organization's boss. After watching these episodes, you can watch the special, Detective Conan Episode 1, The Great Detective Turned Small. It pretty much contains the appearance of most of the characters in Detective Conan before the Shetty Arc, and adds a lot of details that are not mentioned in the TV anime. Like in the first episode, Jin got a metal bat from God knows where, knocked Shinichi out, and gently put the drug into his mouth. While in this real episode 1, Jin stuns Shinichi with a retractable stick and forcibly stuffs the drug down his throat to prevent Shinichi from vomiting. Whether it's the details or the art quality, both have been greatly improved. So even if you have seen the same plot from the TV anime, I still recommend that you look back and review it in the special. Then we come to the Shetty Arc. From here on out, I will add some additional information to each episode. A plus sign like this signifies that this episode has a very important main storyline character debut. Who specifically it is, I'll put it at the end with parentheses. This rising symbol represents character development, which means that something happened in this episode that caused the character's emotions to change. If there is a specific section of time after an episode, then it's because there are only a few minutes in the whole episode that are related to the main storyline. If you don't have much free time, then I recommend that you only need to watch these few minutes, and it's okay if you skip everything else. By the way, my specific time may not be accurate. I've checked the same episode of Detective Conan on different websites, and the duration of the same episode will vary by a few seconds. Especially, however, for the Detective Conan movies. Some websites will move the advertisements of the Japanese TV stations together, resulting in a gap of more than 10 minutes for obviously the same movie. While this bold marking represents the climax of a plot, usually when several Conan teammates and members of the Black Organization appear in the same scene to start a duel. Generally, these episodes will deeply affect the development of the main storyline in the future, so they belong to the type that absolutely cannot be skipped. If you skip it, it will seriously affect the watching experience and feel of the entire anime. The reason why I added an "and" between episodes 13 and episode 128 is that both episodes are adapted from the same manga, but the anime has changed many places, so I recommend that you watch both episodes. On the other hand, as the first arc of Detective Conan, the Shetty Arc is the shortest. From the beginning of episode 128 to the end of episode 178, only 50 episodes were used, and the main storyline was only 11 episodes. After episode 178, the main storyline comes to the transitional plot between the Shetty Arc and the Vermont Arc. I don't think I need to specifically remind you, this heart shape represents the romantic plot between Ran and Shinichi. All the romantic plots in Detective Conan are more or less related to the main storyline, so I still highly recommend you watch them. Next up, we come to the Vermont Arc. Compared to the Shetty Arc, the Vermont Arc is more complicated and there are more fragments. It's easy to get confused if you don't have a watch guide, but in direct proportion to the level of confusion, its excitement level is astonishing. From the appearance of the three suspects of Vermont to the reveal of her true identity, and in the middle between this, there are a lot of descriptions about the past of the Miyano family, paving the way for part of the Bourbon Arc. At the same time, some of the suspense in this arc has not been revealed so far, such as Itakuru Suguru's software, the relationship between Vermont and the boss, the contents of Habara's tapes, age 19 years and age 20 years, and so on. It can be said that the Vermont arc is worth recalling countless times. Every time there's the latest information about Vermont in the main storyline in the manga, I can always find a different viewing experience of the Vermont arc. This is why most of the deducing I did in the previous series of videos was about Vermont. The main content of the transitional plot after the Vermont arc is how Conan infers the complete email address of the Black Organization's boss through the first 4 keytones of the mailbox. Then we come to the Kid arc, which is also the most intensive arc of the main storyline, and also has the longest story of Detective Conan, Clash of Red and Black. It mainly revolves around how Conan discovered Mizuna Shidena's undercover identity step by step, and used it to pave the way for the future main story arc of Bourbon. Also, since Clash of Red and Black, the balance of power on Conan's side has been reversed with that of the Black Organizations. Many people say that the plot of Detective Conan has started to decline since the Kido arc. I agree with this point, but this is only for the side plots. The main storyline plots have even become better than before. After anime episode 508 ends, the Bourbon arc directly starts, but the viewer can choose to watch the story related to the Police Academy's 5-member group before watching the Bourbon arc, which can help you better understand Bourbon, this character. Unlike the previous arcs, the Bourbon arc is divided into 2 main parts. The plot in these 2 parts is like a fusion of the Kido arc and Vermont arc. The first part is about how the Black Organization found Shetty and killed her, and how Conan identified the real Bourbon from the Bourbon suspects. From this arc, we can see that Detective Conan chose a very difficult path. From the appearance of the first Bourbon suspect to the appearance of the third Bourbon suspect, there was a gap of 110 episodes. In the meantime, they also had to infer the identity of Scar Akai when the suspect wasn't fully present. If you were caught up on the show in the first place, it would be equivalent to waiting for 2.5 years for all 3 suspects to appear on stage. This will cause some viewers to lose patience and not continue to follow it. Fortunately, Detective Conan did a very good job of comforting the audience. During this period, a small climax was arranged, which is between episodes 579 and 581. Then, the London arc was interspersed between episodes 616 and 621 to provide a foreshadowing for the future appearance of Seda Masumi, which is also one of the 2 most important emotional turning points for Shinichi and Ran. To be honest, when watching these episodes, I even forgot that I was watching the Bourbon arc. After the debut of furuyarei in episode 667, the author immediately designed a climax in episodes 671 to 674 to remind the viewer, oh, I'm actually still watching the Bourbon arc. Finally, after episode 701 of the Jet Black Mystery Train, the Bourbon arc ushered in its second part, the Scarlet Return. The main storyline of this part unravels all the foreshadowings buried in the first part and the Kido arc. I personally feel that the perception of this part of the story even exceeds that of the Vermont arc. The second part is about how Conan step-by-step uncovered Bourbon's undercover identity, and how Bourbon step-by-step uncovered Akashiuchi's fake death plan. By the way, anime episodes 779 to 783, the Scarlet Return arc, are the highest rated episodes on many Detective Conan rating sites. These are the most worth watching episodes of the Detective Conan series, but I still recommend watching the other main plots of the Bourbon arc before watching these episodes to maximize your enjoyment. Finally, we come to the Rum arc, which is still being serialized. Because it is still being serialized, the letter M will appear on the list, which means the manga chapter. It is quite obvious that the Rum arc is much longer than the previous arcs. Generally, Conan will probably guess the identity of the Black Organization member in the middle of an arc, while in the Rum arc, Conan has still not found even the slightest evidence about Rum's true identity, and even the author directly revealed it to the viewer. So, it is very likely that the Rum Arc will also contain 2 parts. Similar to the second part of the Bourbon Arc, it's probably about how Conan step-by-step discovers Rum's true identity, and how Rum step-by-step discovers Shetty's fake death plan. But let's not get so far for now. Let's have a look at the episodes of the Rum Arc first. My definition of a climax plot in Detective Conan is multiple black organization members and Conan teammates coming to the same place and affecting the subsequent main storyline. So, although there was no serious conflict between the 2 episodes of 866 and 867, I still added it in. But the real reason is that if I didn't add these 2 episodes, there would have been no climax at a Rum Arc so far in anime. After the Scarlet School trip, Rum started investigating Kuru Shinichi. After anime episode 1012, we come to the main storyline of the manga. These are the Detective Conan episodes that I've sorted out in a very specific order that are very worth watching, but I don't know if it's all of it. If you find any episodes that are missing, please leave a comment and let me know. If you want to see Kuru Shinichi grow up as a detective, please follow this order to watch it. And if you want to watch it in the normal order, please follow this order. By the way, in order to avoid confusion for some viewers, I have to remind you that there will be a difference between the Japanese episode numbers and international episode numbers in the episodes of Detective Conan. Since the 11th episode of the Moonlight Sonata murder case, the Japanese episodes will combine some episodes to make a 1-hour special, but the international episodes will separate them into 2 episodes. This gap began to increase with more and more episodes, and by the time of the new 1000th episode of the new Moonlight Sonata murder case, it already had a gap of 57 episodes. All episodes in this video are based on the Japanese episode numbers. If you're watching the international episodes, then you can use this website for comparison. Most of the websites I've seen use the Japanese episode number, so there's no need to worry too much about being confused. At the end of this video, you're welcome to take a screenshot or share this list with your friends that are Detective Conan fans. I will update this chart if there's any new main storyline plot that comes out in the future. And I apologize once again, I should have uploaded this video before my Detective Conan main storyline and timeline chronology series. But if you want to watch the timeline and history of Detective Conan from 50 years ago up until now, you can watch my series on the Detective Conan main storyline and timeline chronology. That is exactly what you need. But for now, please enjoy your zero spoiler watching experience of Detective Conan.